Hey, everybody. Welcome to Cherry and Stone Publishing.com's Author Corner. I am Mark Knight, and today I'm going to be talking with South Jersey author Dan Kirshtein about his work, Stars, Gods, Wolves. Welcome, Dan.
Thanks, Mark. Good to see you.
Good. Hey, Dan, this piece of work here is such a reader. It took me from line and scene and character, and it built to this point where it ended in such a way that made you ask for more. And we'll get into that. So tell me a little bit, Dan. So what made you get into writing? What made you get into writing?
Well, I've been a storyteller since I was a kid. It's been a great exercise for me, honestly. It's been just I have to get these things out of me. I've been writing since middle school, and from there through high school, and then all the way through college. And this is my first big leap into publishing. This is a story that I feel like has to be told and has to get out into the world.
Tell me a little bit about um, how it was beneficial to you, like cathartic for you to write this story. As you say, it had to come out of you, and I'm sure the story had to be so cathartic for you in order to to put it down on paper and make it such a story that it is.
Yeah, and I say this all the time. It's like vomiting. You
Mm-hmm.
have to get it out. You got to sculpt it. And it's weird because like I was in a dark place when I began writing this book, and it was absolutely shown through those characters. Eventually you get everything out on the page, and you start reading it and you go, son of a bitch, that's me. Like it's a weird feeling, but it absolutely has to get out. And I thoroughly enjoyed seeing these monsters come out.
I wonder, do you feel as though the book reflects you a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. It's a cautionary tale, right? It's all these things that we, and not just me, but like people relatable and stuff like that. All these things that we are, these knee-jerk reactions, these emotions, and this this warpath that we set ourselves on. And it's a reflection. It's absolutely, not just me, but all of us.
The first thing that came to my mind then when I opened it up and I started reading it was, is this going to be like Star Wars? Is it going to be like, Guardians of the Galaxy? Because I love Star Trek. I am a huge Star Trek. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I remember when my mom took me to see the first Star Wars back in the 70s when it first came out, so I saw it when it first came out in the theater, and I've been hooked ever since. And I was like, is this going to be another one of those type of stories? And talk to me a little bit about how this is similar but yet different.
Yeah, there's absolutely elements of it's like how Terry Pratchett describes Tolkien. It's like being in Japan. There's a big ass
Mm-hmm.
mountain in Japan. You can't if you're writing or drawing a picture of Japan, that mountain's going to be in it. And Star Wars is that for sci-fi. So I wanted to throw this more into a realistic light. I wanted to make it more grounded. I wanted Stars, Gods, Wolves to be a combination of Office Space meets Aliens. This completely awful environment of what if the red tape and the nonsense and the greed and the corporate headache that we have here on Earth is met with us in space. What kind of a horrible existence would that be? um and go from there. So I really loved, God, I loved James Cameron era aliens movies and stuff like that, like the 80s era movies
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
where he
yeah,
just
yeah,
and
yeah.
the horror aspect is absolutely in this book too,
You
because
know, I think in that whole genre of writing, sci-fi, people tend to come with a preconceived concept of what this book is going to be about, or what sci-fi is going to be about, not necessarily the book, but what the and I guess I came with a preconceived concept of what the book was going to be like, based on the conversation, seeing seeing the illustration on the front cover. It made me think, well, where is this going? You know, what is this? And it made me want to delve into it. Where do you see um, the characters in this world of stars, gods, and wolves? How do they all intertwine? How do they all weave together to become this storyline that you're telling?
It's absolutely a story of broken people, and in one way or another, they're absolutely just completely wrecked. And this is their origin story. This is a nice little small story contained jumping off point for the whole franchise.
Talk a little bit about Martin, you know, and his character and how he fits into this whole story that's woven together.
He was my starting point for the whole book. He was the first guy. The first scene that I wrote was Martin in prison, and I really wanted to explore this character, and what put him in prison, and what happens to him after. And it becomes a parallel to Albert Einstein in this sense of, you know, if I had known what was going to happen, I would have been a watchmaker. That's one of my favorite quotes of his, and I loved uh, throwing that into this kind of modern take, and
Yeah.
a very realistic and horroristic aspect, if that's a
Because
word.
you know, when I first started reading the book, and the first scene that opens up, where this guy is trudging through the snow, and he sees off in the distance this image, and as he gets closer, the image becomes clear what it is. It blew my mind,
Thank you. Yeah,
because I was wondering, come on, Dan, the way the writing in this story opened up, it made me feel as though I was holding the hand of the character as we were walking to find out what happened to the space station, you know, or this station. What was the impetus of that thinking and that thought process of writing? Because it was so creative.
thank you. It was I didn't read a lot of books growing up. I read comics and stuff like that, but there was no real, like, because that's what they tell every writer, is that you have to read and read and read. And I'm like, I was a slow reader. What do you want? So it came into a lot of my storytelling came from movies, and a lot of learning how to write fiction came from my training at UArts and stuff like that, and where it's very, less is more, and at the same time, you got to keep people guessing, and this
Right.
uh, that's what builds tension. That's what makes things interesting.
Tell me a little bit about your 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 perfect villain.
I think with AI being where it is, any it is a terrifying thought to see something that is absolutely selfish and a liar and a monster, to grow from a robot into that is
Yeah,
something that I very much enjoyed writing, and
yeah,
I
yeah.
loved pushing that through.
Speaking of writing, what's next?
Oh man. Okay.
Because this book, there has to be a part 2 through 7 at least. Okay, part 2 through 7. So I'm looking for you to do whatever you have to do, cut off your lights and whatever, be in the dark and write. you know, because this is really impressive. This is really impressive. So what is
Thank you.
next in the story line for Stars, Gods, and Wolves?
Well, this is like I said, this is a jumping off point. This is all these characters that are, you know, they were broken before, they get more broken, and it's an origin story for them, and it's absolutely, we have the heroes now, and book two is very much about building a villain. There's a character who is introduced, and he is he has a past that we've seen through the first book, He's got a background that is absolutely tortured. And we are able to see him grow and turn into a threat, not just to our characters, but to the whole universe. And he becomes an absolute force to be reckoned with.
Does any of my dear characters in the present book appear in that at all? Will they make a cameo at least?
Ula is a big force in the sequel,
Oh wow,
uh,
yeah,
and so is Nitro.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so Ula and
Good,
Nitro
good.
are huge characters in the next
Yeah,
book.
Nitro, man. Nitro is another beast of the book, yo.
Yeah,
Nitro is very much a beast of the book, you
yeah.
know. I love his character. If ever this becomes, or when this becomes a movie, you must tell them my friend Mark must play Nitro.
Oh, absolutely.
No, absolutely. You know, I have to play Nitro. Exactly, exactly. Because I want that. I
Yeah,
want that.
yeah.
That is so me. I am so Nitro. You know, I am so Nitro. Because I do have your second book that is out now, and I'm reading that. But if this comes out, you know, so hold off a little bit on the second one. Or the second to this one. Let me
Sure.
finish the second book that you've written, so I can get through that one. But man, this was definitely a good read. I'm so happy. You know, so in closing out, I guess the question would be, for you, what's the self-publishing process like? How was that?
It's fun. It feels like you've got the whole stage to yourself.
Yes.
There's,
Yeah.
not to completely jump into a different metaphor, but there's not too many cooks in the kitchen. It's just
Mm-hmm.
you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're responsible for your work, and you don't have to answer to anyone.
But man, I am so, enthralled by this book. I can't wait to see the second one that comes out. This is definitely a worthwhile read. I enjoyed it, from the beginning to end. Anything else you want to close it out with, Dan, and saying?
No, thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate
Man,
all
I'm
this.
excited. I'm
Yeah.
excited. There you have it, folks. Thank you very much. Great talking to you, Dan. South Jersey, Dan, not Central Jersey, not North Jersey, South Jersey,
South
Dan.
Jersey.
From cherryandstonepublishing.com, Author Corner. Thank you, sir, very, very much. And we'll look forward to another read.
All right, you have a good one, buddy.
Bye bye, buddy.